Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Predicts Frankenstein. This video is looking at the Edexcel exam. We'll have a look through all of the sample specimens and past papers, see if we can spot any trends or patterns. You know what I'm going to say, we don't have crystal balls, so do make sure you are revising broadly and widely across theme and character. But for now, let's get started. Right, so what came up last year? Gorgeous extract, because we had chapter 5 where the creature wakes up and Frankenstein is horrified by what he sees. So that was a lovely one. Chapter 1, so right at the very beginning, post letters obviously, with presentation of Elizabeth and her stay. And then as you can see as we go through, we've had a lot of extracts that are coming in from the first half of the novel, with lots of focus on character and experience and thoughts running all the way through. So obviously it is very difficult to in any way predict an extract from a novel like Frankenstein because it's so long, there are so many options. But here are just a few thoughts that you might like to use for practice. So the most notable thing about what has come up so far is that there is very little in the second half. We've got chapter 19 here. But otherwise it's majority first half. So why don't you just do a bit of practice with the second half just to sort of see? So I thought, chapters between 12 and 18. We've had the observations of the cottagers, but we could have something, for example, like when they reject him and when they attack him. You could get something like when Frankenstein and the creature have that conversation and he requests that that he makes him a female partner, because that's quite a powerful and important moment in the novel. Justine, she's not come up yet, so you could get something on Justine's state, when she's in the jail, or you might get like Victor Frankenstein's response to that. That would be a lovely paper. Oh, it's one of his worst moments. Then you might look at the end of the novel. We've not really had anything from the ending, so we could have the death of Elizabeth. Alternatively, you might end up with the moment where Frankenstein threatens Victor and he doesn't realize that he's threatening Elizabeth's life because he's so self-absorbed. So maybe something about Elizabeth. We might have, if we go really close to the end, we might have like Victor Frankenstein tracking the creature. And then just as we've had Walter and letter 1 in the specimen, obviously you could get any of the other letters as well, but you might end up with Walton's narrative at the end of the novel as well. But like I said, just because we've had the first half doesn't mean that we won't get it again, because the chapters are long. There's plenty of opportunities. So just practice a range. Open up your copy of the novel and just think, right, on that page, what would I do? Okay. So wider, we had horror last year, which is a gorgeous question. Companionship, that's quite a nice one. Fear, powerful emotions, all lovely the last 4 years. Education, slightly harder. And letters, very hard. And then, the rest of them are fairly straightforward. So there's been a lot of discussion about, where are the characters? Because there is nothing stopping Edexcel doing a character question. In fact, it's sort of surprising that they haven't. So, for example, you might get something on Frankenstein. You might get something on his, like the morality of Frankenstein, or any kind of reflection on any changes he goes through. You might get the creature, looking at the creature as either a sympathetic character or not. I think those would be the obvious and the straightforward character questions that you would get. I mean, nothing's ruled out, as always. And then thinking about other kinds of questions that you might get. Power of nature, obviously super important to this novel, or they might kind of broaden it out and just say setting, the importance of settings. A lot of the other 19th century texts, they've had a setting question, so that would make sense. Importance of family, that would be a lovely one actually, because then you could look at the creature's lack of family and that need and the way he compares himself to the cottagers and all of that idea. Or a broader one of that is love, or the
the seeking of love. And then the other like really big theme is of course science and the dangers of science, like that kind of idea of scientific arrogance. I know we've had education, which is the sort of closest, but science looking at, you know, Frankenstein as a more negative character, someone who is arrogant and playing God, for example, might be interesting. Just a few thoughts for you there. Hopefully that was helpful. Good luck with your revision. I know the exam is coming up and I'm a bit late to the plate with this prediction video, but hopefully it's still good. Do subscribe, do share if you're finding them useful, and I hope everything's going well. Happy revising.